All right. We are here at the Red Belt Podcast. I have Josh Frye here. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good with Barncat. How you doing, sir?
I am doing great. So,
Awesome.
one of the reasons I wanted to have Josh on, which I like everybody with really successful BJJ and MMA schools. We've known each other for a long time.
Yes,
I like
sir.
having all the people next to the at $1 million a year or real close. I think you said you're only like 900 and something thousand. We're gonna let it slide, Josh. But
Yeah,
one of
we're
the reasons
close.
it's so many people say that it takes, you have to quit everything, you have to give up everything to be able to do that. And I
Mhm.
remember being in a mastermind where a lot of people were pressuring Josh. He was a school teacher. It's like, quit your job, and he asked me, hey, do you think you should do it? I was like, I don't think you've got to do that.
Mhm.
And he hasn't, right? So he has almost $1 million a year school, so way beyond what a normal school owner does. But he's still got his regular thing, and it's I assume that's more because you like it and want to do it than because you need it. Because I'm pretty sure you don't need it, right,
Yeah,
anymore.
for sure, for sure. I mean, the school. I've been a lifelong educator. I've been a teacher. I started teaching martial arts when I was a teenager at 15, and so I was like, when I went to college, I gotta go to college because the parents told me to, and I became a teacher. And as soon as I graduated college, I was right in the classroom. 24 years later, it's kind of hard to give up something that you're used to, the pension, the coworkers that I've worked with side by side for years, some of my closest friends. And so for me, I do like the routine and getting up early, getting to the day job, and having that comfortable like lifestyle. And it's because I enjoy it. But the gym, the business that I run, it took on its own life ever since COVID. It has been tripled the size since COVID. And can I quit? Yes. Do I have to rely on my day job? No. But I continue to do so because it's kind of flipped my mentality as a business owner. I'm more I get to teach the classes I want to teach, but I get to make a really awesome team. Like systems that allow my team to run the gym, and I don't have to be there if I don't want to, but I can be there if I want to. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, and
Mm,
that's kind of in general the goal. I think for a lot of people want a school, um, that like you want to be able to teach class, because most of us are in, this is a passion-based business typically in BJJ or MMA. Like you like it, you want to be able to teach class. However, um, if you have to teach class,
mhm,
not only do you have a job and not a business, you hear that, you don't even really have a job, because if you have a job, you can get leave. If you want to go get married, you can have time to go get a honeymoon. If you get sick, you can take off. But some of these people, you don't have a job, you have slavery, right? Because yeah, on a job, there's an excuse. If you get sick, you can get off, you can get away for a week. If you are the one-man show at your BJJ school, you're the only person, you can't leave for a week.
mhm,
You are stuck. You are prisoners to it in a way you will never be to your job, because your job, you have a certain degree of leverage, especially you that you don't financially need it. Because
mhm,
why? Well, you can get another job. It's a pain,
mhm.
but you can get
Yeah.
another job. They need you just as much or more than you need them, and especially at
Mhm,
your point, they need you a lot more. But for this case, like you would lose everything. You couldn't just restart the business. You would lose
mhm,
everything. So you can't, if you don't have systems in place. It's way it not like people talk about you own your job. That's not even so bad. It's way worse than that.
mhm.
Your job owns you, right?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
um,
I mean, I think the cool part for me too, though, is because so many people told me that I couldn't. I kind of wanted to be successful and run a business and still have the day job. But it made me really focus on good systems, finding the best systems out there for my culture and for my academy. And once I kind of dialed that in, it was really neat to see the growth kind of just take off. And I wasn't always there. It wasn't dependent on my personality or my systems. It was about what we created as a team. And once I found that power of like building a team, that's when I realized, man, that's what entrepreneurship's all about. It's about leading and setting the next bar and visionary, thinking about the next steps as a business. And as soon as we let that go, it exploded. And for me, it's just really cool to walk in that gym and go, I'm going to teach the advanced jiu-jitsu class tonight, or I'm going to teach the advanced kickboxing class tonight. And I can, and I don't have to. Like, another hour from now, I got to go teach class. But if I don't need to, I just one phone call and I have a team and they're going to have a great experience without me. So, I think the passion projects and the day job, when people say you have to do it, quit. I mean, some do, but for me, I think multitasking and learning how to solve that problem is really intriguing and fun. So.
Yeah, well, I don't have a day job, but I think the same thing applies right here. So I think you really need to do the same thing, no matter what it is that you want, right? So that you can best serve your students and have the consistency, because people aren't perfect. At some point you'll get sick, something will happen. And so that you have the freedom to like not completely be ruined by what you love. Like eventually it'll drive you to hate it if you can't leave it all. And so that's not good. We don't want to do that.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
yeah,
you've been running school for a long time, and that passion and the motivation when people let you down, or the redundancy of always doing the same stuff, it gets boring after a while. So it's nice to have other people to take that over, so you can reboot and also get ready, to kick ass in classes and teach, phenomenal classes, because you have time to yourself instead of always being on all the time and doing all the things. So yeah, definitely having a team helps for that.
yeah. So you have around a 500 student school at
Yep.
close to $1 million a year school.
Yep.
And you have 2 full-time employees and 2 part-time. Is that right?
Yeah, so we have 2 full-time employees and 2 part-time. The part-time guys are I consider part-time less than 30 hours a week. And so I have one part-time is about 20 hours a week, 24 hours a week. And then I have another guy that's about 12 hours a week. And then they fill in the gaps for the guys that, they want full-time, but they have to, through our systems, kind of earn it, if that makes sense. I'm not about jobs. I don't want to create more jobs. I want to create careers. And that's kind of what's been motivating me the last few years, is I want these guys to be part of the business, and we want to grow it together and with multiple locations. And so, I'm really big on, like leveling up and, seeking that next role in our business. And so with that aside, it's really pushed my guys to self-evaluate and kind of help, push the business another level every quarter. So, yeah, create jobs. No, I mean, get rid of jobs, create careers.
Yeah. So I there's different opinions on if gross is a vanity number, and to some extent it is, right? Because
Yeah.
there's
Well,
people
it
with
can be all relative. If you have like a freaking $30,000 a month rent and you're grossing 50,000, you're only taking home 20, and that's not even taxes and all the other
right,
stuff.
and
So
then you have employees and the other stuff and all
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And then you're close to break even. And many of these, so we've brought on a number of people that are making a little bit more than you, but most of them have like 15 employees,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so you might actually be making more than say those.
I do have a strip mall facility with 8,000 square feet. So
Yeah.
I have a mega school. I would consider that a mega school in a commercial building right next to Publix grocery stores. So, I do pay a pretty rent, but I do limit the other things as far as my employee and the insurance benefits and all that stuff is not as high as most. So yeah, we definitely I think the systems, man, having 2 full-time employees, you can easily run 500 members. You just have to have the right systems in place.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, I do, from another point of view, I do think gross is kind of meaningful, because I do think whether you phrase it as creating jobs or like quality jobs or careers for people. That's why I do think the gross is relevant, because if you don't have a high gross, you're not going to be able to really provide for people. Even if okay, so say you apply for, you have, I know these gyms that they employ a number of people, but they pay per class, and they pay $20 a class, and they give you a handful of classes a week. And like, they don't give you, like, it's your little side project that it's like basically a glorified volunteer. It almost might even be better for them if they were a volunteer and kept more freedom than that. Right. So it's like
Yeah.
they can't quit their other jobs. They have no potential for growth. They don't have a real career there. And because you have to have a decent sized gross to be able to provide like real money for real employees. So that's why I think the gross is relevant, because we talk about that and like, okay, cool. If you have lower profits, just because you choose to pay your guys more. I think that's cool. And I think we can still have you on the show and glorify that, because I think that's great. Because I like that there's more higher paying
Well,
jobs
I mean, yeah,
here.
most people when they say, "Oh, you're a martial arts school owner," right? And they're like, "Oh, well, what's your real job?" It's like,
Right.
and if you're not one of the big major schools, the large schools in the industry, they don't think that you're making money. It's just a passion project, it's just a hobby. And be honest with you, the martial industry is wide open. No matter what you teach, from taekwondo to jiu-jitsu, it doesn't matter. Like it can be life changing. It could sustain life, and it could also be bigger and better than you ever thought. I think it comes down to the owners and how they want to systemize their staffing. See, my guys know, hey, the first level, we're at system level instructor 1, and they have to go to level 2, level 3 to become a senior instructor. And once they understand that, they can go into the program directing world, or they can go into the chief instructor world. And so you have to have these things defined so they have goals to level up to, and there's pay associated with that, but also insurance. Like, with my job, I can get my dental, my health, and no problem taken care of. At a martial arts school, that's not usually included, and it should be. All my full-time employees have full benefit packages. They have healthcare, they have dental, and that means they don't mind being there till 7 o'clock at night on a Monday night helping out, because it's their career.
Right.
So I think that's a huge thing that our industry needs to change a little bit, because there's a lot of schools out there that do that part-time stuff. Like, hey, couple classes, we won't charge you tuition, we'll pay you $50 a week. Why don't you get these 2 classes? That's not professional. That's not long-term. That's not a career. That's just a job or a side gig,
Yeah. It's basically, yeah, it's a volunteer with sprinkles. You can afford your whatever tournaments or geese or whatever it is you spent. Like it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, and you can have those roles, but like if people also complain, oh, I lose these people, they open up and compete with me and what, and then sometimes people are a scumbag and will do it no matter what. However,
Yeah.
some people is like, man, if they want to do this for a living, there's very few. I talk to people all the time that they really wanted to be an employee or coach, that they're not really an entrepreneur. They don't want to do all this stuff. It's just there is no jobs, no real jobs available, and they feel like the only way they can ever make a living doing this is owning a school. But there are more and more school owners that I've brought on in here that you'll make more as an employee for them than 95% of school owners, right?
Mhm.
In fact, if you're even able to substitute your job, you're probably doing better than most people in BJJ and the MMA. I know a lot of these guys that their job subsidizes the school.
Yeah.
They don't take anything at all. So
I think there's always going to be people that want to leave. Like, you train your staff and they want to leave to open up their own school. I just think that as owners, we need to create a bigger vision that we're all included. The real gangsters in this industry, the guys who are life changing for their entire team, own multiple locations, and there's part ownership deals with these locations. One comes to mind. One of my favorite mentors since I was a kid in the old Taekwondo world was Von Schmeling. Sergio von Schmeling is, he has like what 50 some schools in the Victory Martial Art organization. They're all in one organization, and they all work for one company. It's like the guys that leave you is your vision's not big enough. You're not giving them opportunities for growth. They're gonna leave you if you keep them at $40,000 a year and they're a head instructor. They're not gonna want to do that for 20 years. They're gonna have
right.
kids eventually. They're
Well,
gonna have
and
families.
$40,000 a year is more than
Yeah.
most school owners make, right? It's
Yes.
almost
Yes.
no. So if you're paying $40,000 a year, so people listen to this and they're like, he's paying. That's so much. Don't listen, guys. Right?
My
And then
program director makes 20 grand more than that. That's my senior instructor. I got 2 guys both making more than that. So yeah, they need to, because the gross is there and we're hitting our goals each month. They know what we have to work hard to get. So they're in tune with the gross, they're in tune with our business. If not, then they're gonna leave me or they're gonna find another job. And so, like I said, careers, not jobs. We got to create opportunities for these guys to grow so they stick with us and see the bigger vision. And the cool part about this is, because I had the day job, I really had to systemize this. I had to think about this, and, eventually going to leave me. Then I have to quit my day job, go run the gym. And I never wanted to do that. So, we have a bigger vision. We have goals each year that my team's part of. It's not just Josh, the owner. These guys are my team. And we talk about the next steps together and how I want them to level up and what they want to do. And hopefully our goals coincide. But it's important because I think where my growth happened after COVID, where we are a 500 member school, I consider it in the top 25% in the industry when it comes to our world. Having a large facility. It happened because when I started having full-time employees, when I first started getting staff is when I really leveled up. Not the part-time 10-hour a week, 5-hour guys. Those guys are a dime a dozen. I've had those since the first year I opened up. 10 years later now at this one location I'm at, it really started grossing when I had full-time staff and I really had to organize our systems for them. That's when we exploded. And so no matter if it's Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, whatever, you have to pay into your staff and you have to keep training and bring them along the journey. If not, you're not going to grow. They're going to open their own school down the road or they're just going to leave the profession. So I think staff is the key. I keep saying that over and again, but that's when my growth like tripled, man.
So let's talk about because people think about these roles and they're like, well, I can't afford to pay a full-time person, but
you can't afford not to.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So
dude, you're gonna grow if you do.
How do you assign these roles and structure this? Because you got a little bit different system than most, and there's more than one right way. But like, how do you set up these things and these? Tell me about the progression and their duties and like how they're contributing to make sure you're not losing money here, right? And that you can afford to pay.
Yeah, so I think at first we started at part. Say they're interested in helping out. I really do. I have hired without outside organization, and only 2 employees in the last 10 years from outside organization, and each one of them ended badly, where we had to fire or they just moved on. All the ones I have now are raised within my culture, and so they expressed that they wanted to help out, teach, be part of the journey. And so once we find that out, we put them into a part-time position. And so I call that an assistant instructor level 1. That's where they get to start to assist. Everything's defined in the roles of like, hey, we expect you to help, we have cards we hand out for class tracking, from mopping the mats to cleaning the bathrooms to learning how to read a lesson plan from our curriculum book for each of our programs. Because we're an MMA school, we have jiu-jitsu, we have Krav Maga, we have Muay Thai kickboxing, we've got boxing, we have MMA, and now we have Filipino martial arts as well. So we have a plethora of things that people can choose to do. And so all my staff, we have to find out what those things are through our curriculum books. And so they need to know how to read a lesson plan, how to do a warm-up, how to assist that warm-up. And we start from there. And then if they, with every quarter, we reevaluate. And
so is that that's a hourly job or?
Yes, it's an hourly job. Yes, it's an hourly job. And it's tied to quarter reviews. And if they're doing really well, then we'll push them up faster, especially if we want a full-time position. So it goes assistant level 1 through 3. After assistant level 3, they move on to a senior instructor, which is somebody can run a class and is the first step for us as a full-time employee. Once they become a full-time employee, they have access to benefits, paid leave, vacation time, all that stuff. With the intention of, hey, do you want to go to the front of the house acquisitions, or do you want to go to the curriculum side and more teaching as a head instructor? So you have 2 branches from that point on.
So you have people that are full-time, they're almost doing all instruction or
both. So I grew up in the Taekwondo world in the 90s and 80s. I started in 85 Karate Kid stuff before I found the soul of jiu-jitsu. But with that said, I remember vividly working for major Taekwondo schools in the 90s, and guys would get really kind of big-headed, like, hey, I teach the advanced classes. If I quit tomorrow, this business would fail. And I just hated that feeling. I just didn't like those guys, the attitude. They didn't understand the bigger picture, what the owner goes through, the front of the house, the back of the house, all the taxes, insurance, the things that we deal with that people don't realize. And they always thought, well, because I teach this class, that's why everybody's here. And so because they only taught that one class, they didn't do all the different roles. And so for me, as little as they may be, or as big as they may be, I think the entire staff should brush on which things need to be done each week to make a successful school work. And so we train our guys on that. So every Wednesday we have a training day. My staff mandatorily has to do for an hour. And it could be from calling leads to taking out the trash. It depends on what we're working on that week, what we need to tighten up as a team. And so when everybody gets a dose of every little role, they all understand the bigger picture. And so when they get promoted, they can help the person below them, but they also don't get too big of an ego because they understood the process to get where they're at. So for me, I think that's super important. So I have instructors that can sell. I have instructors that could, do the front of the house, missing in action calls. I have instructors that can clean a toilet, and we all do it together because they see my ass doing it too. So does that make
So
sense?
you're saying everybody can do everything in universal employee style?
Yes. Yes.
But does it brings us back to, so that are there roles where you
Yes.
mainly
Yes.
teach or but and do just a tiny bit of that, or all of them
No,
have
just a
to
tiny bit of each
continue?
roles. Everybody can do it. But when it comes to accountability each week, the position they have, that's their job to make sure it's getting done. So like our program director, obviously the core numbers, the rocks of our business, the lead acquisition, appointment setting, and actually members acquired each month. And then how many people cancel that month. That's all my program director. So they have their ownership of jobs, but everybody is training in every little thing to help support each other. And then when the position opens up, or we need to move somebody there, that next person can jump right in because they're aware of it, and that's where they want to go. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So personally,
Yeah.
the way I feel about it right now is that any real money, or maybe even any money at all, you should not be doing just teaching. And you're kind of just saying that, but like I feel like okay, yeah, if you are just doing a
Teaching's the
class
easiest part
here
of a martial
there,
arts school.
yeah,
Teaching
what?
is the most easiest part of a martial arts school. To
Yep.
teach is the easiest
It's
part.
not where what I tell people all the time, it's not where the money is generated, right?
Yes.
So that I feel like somebody that can only teach is of very little value, right?
Yes, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I told my
So
guys
that's why I
the
was,
easiest part to teach, but we want to make great classes. We want to be dynamic. We want to impact our students and give them value. But at the end of the day, that's easy because we all love the martial arts. That's why we're there. It's the phone calls, it's the cancellation talks, it's the goal talks, it's getting out to the public and doing old school marketing. The things that people don't want to do. That's the stuff that gets you to the level that we're at and higher. So
and keeps you there and is
yes.
required to keep you there.
Yes, every week,
That's
man.
why if the instructor if they literally, this won't happen, but if they literally took every one of your students and they opened up across the street and all they could do is teach, they'd be out of business very quick.
For sure, for sure. There's a quote, you keep saying that, like when somebody leaving down the street, I think Brandon McCaffrey, our mutual friend, BMAC, was like, one day he told me, because we had a conversation, he's like, dude, if that guy leaves you to go down to the street and teach, then you need to up your game, bro, because you suck.
Yeah.
I think that's so true. It's like, yeah, if my head instructor leaves and they take my students, then it's shame on me because I'm not creating an environment. They don't see the value in me. So they should go on because they're finding a place that's better for them to train, So yeah, up your game, man. If you're worried about people screwing you over, then you got to up your game in other places. There's some confidence issues there.
Yeah, it's usually if somebody leaves, they take two or three people that weren't a great fit anyway.
Exactly.
And then they usually go out of business. If they don't, it's whatever, right? So it's
Most
if
do
you're
go out of
doing
business.
if you're doing stuff right, then it's not so easy to
Yeah.
break your business, even if you're limited in how involved you are in the teaching.
Yes.
That
It's
should be
not like
good.
a Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. If you build it, they'll come. It's
Yep.
not true at all.
That is kind of the whole point of this podcast, is that a lot of us got into this industry thinking we're going to teach and
Yeah.
that's it, and that we're going to do that and people will show up. Or they used to say, I mean, I love my coach. Eddie Bravo is a great guy, but he used to say, like, his whole building your school thing was like, just go out and crush it and like crush the tournaments and teach amazing classes. And when it's like, it worked for him because he's also a great personality and he's just Eddie Bravo and he's one of a kind. But in general, if you go crush the tournaments, nothing happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you'll get one referral. Like
Yeah.
maybe somebody will sit, like maybe you'll get a student every couple of years.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then
Well,
you'll
hey,
lose a handful more because of it.
I'm a lifelong martial artist. I did amateur kickboxing, a few jiu-jitsu tournaments here. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but at the end of the day, I'm a nobody. I'm a high school teacher. Why do I have one of the largest gyms if that's the case? It's really about systems and culture and how you treat your students when they come into your facility. And are you challenging them in the right ways? Are you professional? That's really, it's what you do for your clients, not about your personality. I mean, there's some schools out there like Eddie Bravo's school for sure, dude. I mean, who wouldn't want to learn from Eddie Bravo? That'd be an awesome environment each week,
Because his
but
brand is the marketing. He's
yes,
accidentally fell into great marketing.
yeah,
And it's a personal branding style marketing that's very hard to do, but
yeah,
maybe even more important than Lee's gen. Like he just accidentally can trip and fall and do the right stuff. And you don't even know. He's just so talented at it.
it's
He's
amazing.
like the equivalent of like the freak athlete in jiu-jitsu that's not so good of instructor because
Yeah,
they just always like done well and they just have struggle with teaching other people because like
yeah,
just do arm lock. I mean,
yeah.
like I do, I arm lock top ADTC guy, arm
Yeah.
lock, white belt. And it's just
Yeah.
like he's like the personal brand version because he just talks to you. He's just naturally not even knowing it's for your business. He's just on these podcasts because he wanted to be that guy because he
Yeah.
loves it. And he's just saying that he's just doing so much right that the other stuff that he's doing
Just
wrong
falls in
isn't
place.
even
Yeah.
as impactful.
But
But
it's
that
not easy
you
for the
might you might
average
even
guy.
have more students at your single location than him, though.
Yeah.
Here's what's really matters, though. He does well, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you might have more students at your single location. He's got these
Yeah.
other things going, right? He's got his
Yeah. Oh, for
website,
sure.
et cetera, et cetera.
All the big names do. Yeah.
But yeah, because of that, like so taking consideration, he's probably the strongest name on the internet. Right.
Yeah,
I'm
for
not
sure.
saying biggest name in the jiu-jitsu community, but in the internet for
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu between him and Joe Rogan and whatever. And
Yeah.
then and you got a little bit bigger school than him. It's like,
Yeah.
so that's how strong the systems are.
Yes, yes. And you keep always learning, right? I mean, how many people open a gym and they don't join into masterminds? That's how I met you through Alan Belcher's Combat Business. Like, you have to always keep learning too. You always have to keep evolving and learning what's working. Because what worked with what I learned in those systems years ago is not working now for me. I had to go to another group and learn from other people. And as we do that, you always keep learning and always implementing and taking action. And I think we're just tough. We don't give up, man. Like when adversity happens, when COVID happened and lost 60% of my business, I didn't sit there and start whining about it and looking for government handouts. I was like, what the hell I need to do this next week to keep my students and let them know I'm still here and I'm here for them, Like you have to pivot, you have to be tough, just like what it takes to be a good jiu-jitsu person, You have to keep showing up, you got to keep grinding and keep going forward. And eventually it will be successful, but it's just not right away. And no one's going to give you a pat on the back. Even the gross won't give you a pat on the back until you start doing your time. So yeah, I think systems are really important. For me right now, this level, when I went from the 300 mark to the 500 mark, it was team. I did 250, 300 by myself with a couple part-time guys, but it wasn't until the 500 mark, where I'm floating at 500 now for a year and a half, is because of the team, my systems from my staff. And if I didn't have them, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. That's for sure, especially with a full-time job. So.
Yes. So more on that. I was trying to drill into like what does the day look like, an average day look like for your different roles that you have?
Yeah, so I wake up early in the morning and get my daughter to middle school. I have a son who's a senior in high school next year. So it's getting the kids off to school. My wife helps with my son. I take care of my daughter. And then I head to the school at 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m. And I start beginning my day teaching high school engineering. I have a lab with 3D printers and laser cutters, and I build stuff with high school kids. So it's pretty fun. It's on a college campus, so it's a small school, and it's just fun. You get to mess with kids and challenge them with robotics and electronics, and it gets my brain tickled. And then at the end of that day, I get done. I finish up my stuff in my school around 3 o'clock. I head home. I usually on Mondays do a staff meeting. So I Zoom meeting. That's why I have this set up right here. This is where I do my staff meeting from my house in my man cave up here. We do a meeting to the entire staff. And they're in my office at the gym, and we just talk about our rocks, where our numbers at each week, how many we enroll, how many quit, how many are for the appointment set, and then we talk about like how their week was last week, some things that were good and bad, and then from there we talk about things we need to focus on going into that quarter or that month, that goals we have. So Monday's a really important day to set that off around 4 o'clock every day. And so from 4 to 5, we have a meeting. And then I have a half-hour meeting with my program director, my general manager, and talk about some things that he needs from me, things I can do to help him out on the business side. And then I head down to the gym after that, after I say goodbye to my wife. And then I head down to the gym and I teach classes. I do the advanced jiu-jitsu class and then see how the gym's going. And then the rest of the night I'm there, the guys are teaching classes. We have multiple mats at my gym now. So we have, kickboxing, MMA going on in a cage. And then we have, jiu-jitsu going on. We even have a small little gym where they lift and stuff, CrossFit style section. And so it's really hustling and bustling, gets me all motivated on Mondays. And then Tuesday, same old thing, but instead of a meeting, I just get down to class and teach the intermediate jiu-jitsu and the kickboxing. And then
So you
Wednesday,
teach earlier?
yeah, I teach early in the night. Yeah. So I have a whole day at the school, then I just head down to the gym. And then Wednesday is my family day, but also right after work, we have a training day that we schedule for things they need to work on, resources, maybe a book talk. We talk about books all the time, each quarter. Things that, how do we use our time wisely? Depends on what we're working on, like program director stuff, how to close a sale.
So once again, that's Zooming with your team for like an hour?
Yes, or it's an assignment that I set that they have to watch a video or something I set up with my program director that Wednesday. So it could be self-done, and then they reflect on it. And we talk about it later in the week one-on-one. So it's every Wednesday you have to have some kind of training besides martial art training, And I also forgot Tuesday night, I make sure that I have time for an hour with my entire staff. After everybody leaves the last class, we either spar, we roll together as a team only, closed doors, no showing off, or we beat each other up in the cage, or we do kickboxing together, or we go lift together. And so that's what we do every Tuesday night. So I make sure there's a physical training day, and then there's Wednesdays, the education day, where we focus on our profession. You're either your role, maybe you want to be a senior instructor, so what we need to do, take a look at this video. Hey, check a look at this book, and then Mondays is the staff meeting. So Monday, Wednesdays are great, and Tuesdays physical training. The rest of the week, we just get through all our classes till Saturday. But I'm only there 5 classes a week. So Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays. And then if we have a special event, seminars, people coming in on the weekends. So that's my normal week. If that makes sense.
Yep. So that's the CEO role.
Yes.
So on some of the other roles, can you give me an example of what their day will look like?
Awesome. So I don't want my guys working 40-hour work weeks. I just don't feel that, that's kind of archaic, and, they can do things from home. They can do things, on their own schedule. The only time they have to be there is when we have a half hour before people come and a half hour after people leave for classes. And so my program director, he heads in on Monday morning to make sure everything's good to go for the calls that happen on Sunday, because we're closed on Sunday, to make any lead calls, any kind of appointment set. He gets in there around 9:30 on Monday morning. From 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we have open mat for our students, so they can go ahead. We have a consistent group of 10 to 15 guys that come in and enroll during that time. So while the program director, my general manager, is there, they have access to the gym and the weights and stuff during the day. No organized class during that time. So he's there doing numbers, calling, setting things up, getting ready for our meeting at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, we have our meeting, and then we have classes for the rest of the evening to around 9 o'clock. So Monday's a pretty busy day. So that's my program director. Then we have him coming in Tuesday for day classes. We have a day class Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays for morning classes for jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, Krav Maga. And so they're there for organized classes, which was a 4-hour block. And then couple hour break, and they come back in for the evening classes. So my program director is there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He's off all Friday. You're not allowed to come to school Friday. And then he comes back Saturday mornings because he likes the Saturday morning classes. And then we're closed Sunday. So he does about 36 hours a week.
Okay. So, and so what is he's a program director. So what exactly is he doing at that time? Is he making appointment calls? Is he?
Yes, he's making sure that, so he's also my general manager. He kind of grew with me throughout the growth of the business. So he's a GM and a program director. So he teaches classes as well, but his main focus is making sure that the rocks are there, meaning the things that we are hitting our numbers. Like we have a monthly goal for new member acquisition. We have a monthly goal for setting appointments each week. So he has to hit those rocks. Like, and then if he doesn't know why he's not hitting those rocks or what we can do to solve that, then we have a conversation, and that's my job to step in and help out. So he's all about the rocks, but he's also making sure that as a general manager that everybody's clocking in their time. And we have a lot of SOP, standard operating procedures, that he checks that each day they're getting signed off on the front desk of a book of, like, for simple things like mopping the mat to doing missing in action calls, MIA calls, to make sure students, or writing postcards for people that did a good job that week. Like, we have all this stuff in our SOP book, and they sign off on that to make sure that they're getting done. So that's his job to check on that. If they're not getting done, he gives them a little nudge. If it still is not getting done, he comes talks to me. So he's basically checking all the SOPs, doing all the hard rocks where it comes to numbers and acquisitions, and then teaching a few classes. So that's his job.
So
Make sense?
is he's doing most of the calls, or he's supervising other people doing them?
Supervising. So we've been working big this last year on delegation. So his job is to make sure, hey, my part-time employees and my other full-time employee that's not the general manager, these are things to do this week, and lays it out on a Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he
It works.
so he's mainly in management. He's not, other than teaching classes, he's not doing too much execution.
Yes, he's not teaching much classes more. He's one of my best instructors, and he teaches some classes to keep sharp. But right now we're trying to develop our other team because we want to open our next location real soon, and I got to have them chances to fail with us there to help them out. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so maybe this is a conversation for the next employee we ask about, but like, is there a certain times a day that they or days of the week that MIAs are getting done, the new leads are getting called? Like, is that segmented based on time, or?
Yeah, so it's during their shift, during their allotted shift, I expect them to be there. So it's my full-time employees, they have the day shifts. And then my part-time employees fill in to help out or cover some if they get sick or stuff like that. So it's usually during the afternoon or after lunch is when they start calling, or in the morning, depending on appointments. So like MA calls are usually happen once a week. Postcards, attaboy, good job. Postcards to kids' classes, especially because we have about 200 active kids in jiu-jitsu. They send those out as well during the daytime. So during the Monday and Wednesday shifts, my program director and my senior instructor, they're doing those calls during that time. So everything's scheduled for them. We have time blocking, and we at first it was very regimented, like you do this next hour, you do this next hour, do this next hour. But as soon as I got a hang of it, I don't want to micromanage them. Did you get this signed off? Cool. Go to the SOP book, sign off on it, so we can double check if we need to, but we know it's getting done.
Okay, so presently you're not as exactly time blocked off for people.
Yeah, in the beginning we were. In the beginning we were hardcore, but now that my guys have been with me for a few years, I don't need to check on them unless the numbers are not being made. So the matrix of, monthly enrollments, retention, that will tell me as the CEO that, hey, things are going great. There's no need to go ahead and investigate. When things are not going great, like, hey, we didn't close our 30 new members this month, which we do on average. Like, we have an average 30 or more every month, new members. It's been consistent for 3 years since COVID. It's like boom, 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 boom. But we're having a retention issue. So what we'll be working on is, and missing in action calls and postcards, goal talking with our students and our student tracking cards that we have that each student takes to class to check in. I love automation. I love technology, but I love the old school cards that they grab from the box and hand to the instructor on the mat, because in the back we have our goal talks and things that we're trying to do to make sure that they stay, that we're vested in them. Hey, when's your last tournament? How much weight do you want to lose? All that stuff's in the back. So for us, man, it's about, hands-on and keeping track of all that stuff. So, yeah. So each member, we check to see if they are, doing their stuff and they're showing up to class, and our staff is checking on that. That makes sense.
Yeah. So as an owner of Red Belt Software, which is CRM, I'm a huge fan of like the automation and trying to go paperless and trying to use these tools. But I do see why some people hold on to some of this old stuff. Some of it's just habit, but like the idea of keeping the instructor really involved, I really like.
Yeah, so I had the key fob check-ins. I've done all that with different CRMs. Don't know how Red Belt does it. I think that's awesome. I think the more we can automate things, you don't have to think about it, is the best. That's why I think people should go with your software. It's amazing. Just that, the one thing I think is old school is that people-to-people contact. And when somebody gets on the mat and says, "Hey, how you doing?" It's not me just starting a class with our classes, we have anywhere from, on average, 45 members on the class. And so that's a lot of adults on the mat. And so, I don't want them to go, "All right, start class. Everybody have a great class today. Let's go." I want that instructor to go at every person real quick, either a fist bump, card grab, or high five. "Good to see you. Hey, I haven't seen you in class in a while." That point of contact is so meaningful that every student experiences that no matter what class they have. And that's because we have the physical exchange of a card. But if it was automated like I did before, we have a laser coder, beep, you beep in. Sometimes they don't beep in. Sometimes they got to double check it. There's always these ups and downs of, did you check in or not? And there's no person-to-person contact. It's just automation for the business. I think, we're in the people business, man. We have to, more times that we can do that in a big school, the better it is for retention. So.
Yeah, I do like that. And that makes me think there's got to be some way to do it easier and better with software, but still have
Yes.
people to people, and that's things for me to think about. But
Yeah.
when they say when everybody zigs, you zag, and like if you look at the industry right now, people are going so much to like AI, chatbot, like and basically trying to take all the people away out of the business. And I think that's the wrong play. I think automation is good. I think if every time somebody misses class, or if every time a lead fills in, you say, "Hey, this is Josh from whatever, thanks for," like that can be automated, right? That I think systems will be, and that
it has to be
like
automated.
that tons can be automated, right? But at the same time, there's a reason that none of these other guys, they're working on integrating versions of chatbot GPT, custom GPTs, whatever, to take the people out. And rather than that, like what does nobody have? Like, so nobody has anything with the phones in their system where the phones do basically Google Voice or better jobs, where you're do the call forwarding, where all that's recorded to keep people accountable in the software. Like we all that, where when a phone call can come in, you determine based on the schedule who it rings, and like the being able to like, instead now we're basically keeping in touch with the coach, and we're keeping them on the loop. We're getting people on the phone. So we're using tech to amplify the people to people is my idea. And that's what the opposite of what everybody else is doing. So yeah, I mean, every time I hear that, rather than saying like, "Oh no, that's a competitor to me," I think like, how can I bring that in to Red Belt? Because I like the people to people. You're right. This is a people to people business. And when you try to replace that too much with AI, like
you miss out.
That's not the epitome of customer service. So much of the product isn't classes, it's the other interactions. And that's what people are missing, that so much of what people are buying are the other things.
I mean, it's why I put an espresso machine in my lobby. I have a lobby area. I have an espresso machine, not one they can fill themselves and press the button. We're talking about a commercial level espresso machine. I sell Matt Brown, UFC fighter, did a seminar at my gym this last year, and he sells an organic coffee. It's amazing. It's called Immortal Coffee, right? A little shameless plug there. But I sell it not because I want to make profit of coffee. It's very small profit. It's because it allows my clients to sit there and drink an espresso, have a cappuccino, and talk about class or get ready for the next class. And so it's these moment of interactions that we're failing to do. And if we cover that with technology, it's going to take away that peer-to-peer contact. So I'm all for using technology. I'm an engineering STEM teacher. I love technology. Like 3D printers, laser cutters, they're the bomb. But when it comes to how can we use technology to integrate interaction with each other, which still doesn't take away the face-to-face, that's something special. That's something we got to figure out, That's why you still use the cards. That's why I have an espresso machine, so people can talk amongst themselves in the lobby, so they stay and hang out and be part of the culture. I think that's important. you know, if software can do that, let's do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still have paper workbooks right now. One reason I have it in paper though is because I want to test it before I build it with my software. But
Yeah.
for my beginners class, I have paper workbooks that they
Nice.
get signed on each technique because the idea we tried testing, right? Like
Yeah.
the traditional Taekwondo model, and I felt
Yeah.
like it was too much anxiety
Yeah.
test to get into the next class. Instead, we evaluate instead of get ready for a big test. We evaluate you at the end of the day. We have like a 5-minute piece where you get
Yeah.
your workbook signed, and that's an opportunity to have one-on-one interactions with the coach. And my idea is eventually to bring all that on a scannable app and have no signatures that like, so I've already got that plan. Like once it's
That's
heavily
awesome.
tested
Yeah.
to like, my plan is I still don't think the paper workbook is the best way. I
No.
think it's easier to implement. Same thing with the cards. I don't think the cards is the best way, but I
An app
think
would be
the
great. An app would be great. Like we
yeah,
scan an app,
I
you
think
know?
people to people is the way, but I
Mhm.
think with technology as an augmentation, not as a replacement, but as an augmentation is the optimal way
Yes.
to
I
run the
agree.
entire business. So we're on that rather than me being, he said that on my podcast. I'm like, I do the same thing. I'm not all the way free of paper just
Yeah.
because there's not a substitute for this with an app right now. Like
Yeah.
and it's way faster for me to test this. I'm gonna make sure it works before I spend all the dev time to like build this.
Yeah.
Right. And
For
but
sure. Marquette,
the
if
people,
anybody can do it, Red Belt
yeah,
can do it.
yeah.
If anybody can do it, you can do it, man. I know that for a fact. If there's anything you
Appreciate you,
set
man.
your mind
Yeah,
to, man, you kill it. So yeah.
yeah, we got tons of stuff already. That's just other stuff that I'm looking at. Stuff that most
Nice.
people aren't even thinking of. Stuff
Yeah.
that's more like you're talking about carryovers from Taekwondo, whatever. That so much as much as people talk trash, there's so
Mhm.
much good stuff there. Not so much like the forms and like the things. We're talking
Yeah.
about, I mean,
Systems to run an academy.
yeah, systems around or
Yeah.
makes these students feel good. Like even the touch systems, tell people that's an old Taekwondo thing.
Mhm.
Touch physically or like have 3 touch points of class. The
Yes.
whole sweating, smiling, learning. Like all these ideas
Yes.
are
Yeah.
key fundamental ideas that
Yeah.
you just hope you accidentally do in BJJ. But if you're intentional, you're gonna have a better program. Like
For
if you just
sure.
like, oh, he's a good coach. It's like, okay, yeah, but that's not measurable. It's not
Yes.
trainable. And if somebody's like intentionally doing it, they will
Yeah.
be better than your best dude that's doing it on accident.
I mean, Taekwondo did it first, and they were the ones in the 90s that blew up for sure. And you know, how to make a culture of hundreds of students. You know, jiu-jitsu is so mainstream now more than ever. Heck, since I've known you last 10 years, it's gotten even bigger. There's a
Yep.
jiu-jitsu gym everywhere now. And the thing is, what's going to separate you is not your medals. Hopefully that helps. But it's what's going to separate you is how you treat your culture and your students. And if you have software that enhances that, then by all means, let's go. You know what I'm saying? So we have to do better. We have to elevate what we do every day. And if we can use technology, then I'm all for it. But we have to do better because the guy down the block will do better. You have to keep leveling up your game. Before, open a jiu-jitsu school, you just do jiu-jitsu, like, oh my God, it's the only guy in town. But now it's a level, there's like 5 to choose from. Which one do you want to pull your money at? So if Red
Yeah.
Belt can help out with that, dude, that's an awesome software. So I can't wait to see.
Yeah, at some point I'll show you a little bit more about that. But yeah, so
Yeah.
that's I do 100% agree on that, and that's a lot of what we talk about on a lot of these podcasts is like these different systems because like the idea that you can go in and I like done for you. I like you be able to buy something and it immediately help you. And I try to provide that. And like I have
Mhm.
web services, like we can do some stuff for you. But the idea that I'll ever be able to business in a box you and you'll be able to buy my thing and that's it isn't really realistic for this
No,
business,
no.
right? So I can greatly help you. I can give you the
Yeah.
tools, right? If you build roofs and I replace your hammer with a nail gun, you're going to start doing a lot better. But if you don't know
Yes.
what you're doing, you're still going to do bad.
Yeah.
Um, but you'll do a lot better with that nail gun.
Yes, for sure. For sure. It's like supercharging what you need to get done, I think software should be able to make my life easier as the CEO. Like how many people signed up today? I can go click, click, find out. That's the easy stuff, right? But also the stuff we're not thinking about that helps automate in the back end. Like, how many times have you called back your old leads? Are we doing those kinds of things? How many times have we talked about inventory and, hey, do we have enough green belts in the back for the kids class to give out? Those things should be all automated by software. The software should make your job as a CEO easier. If it's not there, then why are you using it? Just taking payments, that's easy. But when it comes
Right.
to making my life easier, that's the software we need. And this industry demands it now because it's bigger than ever. So,
Yeah, the previously this industry didn't have any software that really competed, in my opinion, with outside the software. Like if you look at software outside the industry, it's like way up there. And inside the industry, they're like, oh, we're the industry leader. And I'm like, maybe you are, but only you're just lucky because this is the industry and there's no competition here. Because
yes.
what's really available is way up here. And
Yeah.
like you guys are ignoring like the most important piece of communication. You do text and emails, but no calls because it's
Yeah.
harder, it takes more dev time to build
Yeah.
and you don't want to spend the money on it, but that's the most important of the three. And like, and the list goes on and on and on. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you have these, a couple of things, but like you don't have a drag and drop automation builder like we
Yeah.
do. Like you don't have the custom building that you really need to be able to change systems and things like that. You just like, oh yeah, it automatically sends this one thing if they miss class at this amount of time. It's like, yeah, but that's not enough.
No, it's not. You need more. Yeah. And it has to constantly be growing. You have to get that feedback from all your customers to keep going to that next level for sure. Things are changing, times are changing, and the software needs to change with us. And if you're constantly not adding to it and growing, then it's not worth our time. That's for sure. Good stuff, man.
Awesome, man. So we're at close to an hour. Do you have any sort of closing thoughts or anything like that?
I don't know. I think we hit a lot of things. When it comes to software, we need something that's going to kind of, help support what CEOs do. In Red Belt software is one of those things that's different than most softwares out there. So I highly suggest you take a look at it if you're listening to this podcast, number one. Number two, being a business owner is not easy. You're going to take your hicks, your lumps, and you're going to keep moving forward, but you always keep moving forward like a martial artist. You never give up. I think, once you get to a certain level, you need to create teams because it's not just about you and a people person, a personality-based business. You need to have a team to support you, to think of your vision, to make it another level, to make it bigger than what you think is possible. For years, I thought I'd never have a staff member. I was scared to have a staff member. How would it cost tax-wise? What would be in for insurance? But as soon as I actually did it, that's when my gym 3 times the size and within 3 years. Now I'm to a point where my vision and goals are so much bigger than I thought they were 3 years ago that I'm thinking at another level for my staff. So if you systemize your things, which you need to, you will grow tremendously because you want to do it for your staff and for your student body to be able to have opportunities. And with bigger growth becomes awesome opportunities. I've had grosses where we were grossing 108,000 in 1 month, during my holiday sale month. It's like 108,000 in 1 month. That was better than my first year in business. you
Mine
know,
too.
yeah. So it's like, it is possible and it's not selling out. I teach hardcore Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I don't give out ranks. This is not a McDojo. You can still do everything that you feel personable about the martial art training, what it should be, but you can systemize things to make your life a point where it can change everybody's. And it just takes time, and you have to surround yourselves with the right people. You got to find the right team. I got to find you, a Barn Cat, through an amazing group that got me started. Without that group, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So, you got to surround yourselves with good people, got to get good software, and you got to keep moving forward. So there's my 2 cents.
Awesome, man. So if people want to follow you or reach you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So right now I'm actually putting content out for myself for the first time in 40 years of martial arts. I'm doing jd.frye on Instagram. We're doing some striking stuff out there right now. It's kind of corny, but I'm putting myself out there. 46 years old and I'm kicking pads on Instagram. We also have my gym page, which is the traininggroundsma.com. That's my website for my business. T Grounds MMA is our gym, the logo on my shirt right here. That's where we're at. So Facebook, Instagram, good stuff.
All right. Well, it was great having you on
Awesome.
here, Josh. This has been
Marquette, it was great to see you, man. I miss you, dude. This is awesome. I can't wait to see what Red Belt keeps doing, man. You're doing some great stuff. So keep it up, brother.
yeah. Thanks so much.
All right, man. Peace.
Bye.